We're going to be taking you through the progress of our black comedy feature film.
Who are you, by the way? Nobody knows who we are.
What this is a DIY cinema podcast for DIY filmmakers. The idea is that you don't wait for permission, you just start.
This is our first feature film, something we're going to do together. You're going to get it warts and all.
So we just go into it?
I kind of think we could.
This is DIY Cinema Cult.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, Aaron. How are you doing? Back in your shed?
We're back in the shed, and you know what I was doing recently? I was listening to the last episode.
Yeah.
And I realised it was so long ago that we describe how it's Narnia outside.
Do we really?
We do.
Hell.
And now basically it's summer outside. Last time we were using the snow outside as our kind of ice cabinet for our drinks.
Yeah. We are going to speed these up, aren't we, these episodes? We're going to make more of them. There's going to be less of a gap, I think.
We've got a few excuses, though, haven't we, as to why
do,
it's taken us a little while. Unfortunately, we had a slight kind of medical issue.
Yeah, you were rushed to hospital, weren't you?
I was rushed to hospital, and a sign of our impending kind of age getting worse and worse is that, unfortunately, I got a kidney stone.
Oh, no.
Which is basically the most painful thing I've ever experienced.
Oh, fuck.
And it's a little bit like waking up, suddenly thinking, oh, I've got a bit of a tummy ache. And about 10 seconds later, screaming at my partner, fucking hell, I'm going to die, and vomiting a lot until the kids were literally going, Daddy, Daddy, are you going to die?
What's happening, Daddy?
Yeah, in the space of about 10 seconds.
Oh, my God.
And then, ambulance came along and I had gas and air, and that kind of took the edge off.
Bloody hell.
A little bit. And then... and I was in hospital, so that kind of put the mockers on our last episode. And
because you weren't able to drink for a little bit, so that put a kind of kibosh on the Boonwell martini.
Yeah, but and in fact, I've only really started having a drink in the last kind of few weeks or two. So yes, the idea of a somewhat drink-related kind of evening and podcasting kind of was put to the back burner, and as a consequence we're not quite going full martini.
No, we've kind of gone gin and tonic tonight, haven't we?
Gin and tonic, which is a kind of leisurely, albeit almost a health drink.
Yeah, I want us to. We'll get back into the full martini experience again, because that was quite interesting. I don't want this to be like this podcast to become a bit like our band that we were in. Smiley, Smiley, Nice, Nice, where we got together and recorded one song, and then that was the end of it.
It was a good song.
Yeah, it was brilliant, but it was kind of, as I was walking down the street, it was very reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
I thought, no, we're going to make at least
we're
two of these things.
Two, yeah, and then maybe even another. And I think we'll get back up to speed. So
yeah,
my kidney stone has passed, according to, I'm actually checking tomorrow for sure.
Yeah.
And I should get the all clear, and that's not to say that this is all about drinking, of course.
Oh no! It's all about. I mean, we do have a very big job we're trying to do, which is actually make a feature film. But we've also got a bit distracted in the making the film that we've been talking about it by kind of doing other things. Yeah. So what have you been up to over there?
Well, I've just been doing. I've been doing obviously the sort of paid kind of commercial work that I spend a lot of my time doing, commercials, campaign films, that sort of stuff, which keeps me in the shed and power. But I've also been making a documentary about the early 90s free party scene.
Oh, nice one.
And it's a very interesting story because it goes really from, the first kind of acid house raves and that kind of thing that a lot of people know about, to something that people don't know so much about, which is where those parties kind of turned into free parties and went out into the countryside and kind of glued and joined up with the Traveller, the New Age Traveller kind of movement. And as a consequence, it built and built and built, and it was this kind of second wave of rave, if you like, built and built and built up to a very famous, the largest ever illegal rave in history, really, called Castle Morton, and it was something that I actually nearly went to. And I will always have the sense of something I missed as I got back to London and discovered that I turned on the telly and there was all my friends on the news at this enormous illegal rave. But as a consequence, they brought in a very, very heavy bit of legislation called the Criminal Justice Bill, which effectively closed down the potential for illegal raves and illegal parties in this country for decades. So it's an interesting story. So I've been doing a lot of interviews for that. And
how much stuff have you got now, do you reckon?
I've probably shot about 10 interviews.
Nice.
I've got another one tomorrow, and I've been in Berlin doing stuff with a very famous underground sound system called Spiral Tribe, so mysterious cult-like organisation. But you've been busy too.
I have. Well, it's been so long since our last podcast that I have made a baby with my lovely lady.
Yeah, so I made a kidney stone and you made a baby.
I mean, there is a gestation period of 9 months or so we don't actually have the baby with us yet.
That would be quite impressive to knock it out between podcasts, but amazing.
But
congratulations.
Another 5 months' time and we'll be with child.
That's incredible. So, and you've moved house?
Moved house, done that as well, and then also finished up a documentary I was shooting called The Chewing Gum Man, which is all about an artist called Ben Wilson, who's from North London up here, and he paints beautiful miniature portraits on chewing gum, the people who spat out onto the pavement. And he's a very, very lovely, eccentric guy, and I've been shooting with him for about the last year. And about a month ago, we finished the doc, and we sent it actually to the Art House Cinema, local independent cinema, just to get a screening. Basically, I was asking how much it would be to screen the film as a one-off to show Ben and his family and get all our mates together to see it. And they watched it, liked it, and they programmed it and put tickets on sale and offered us 50% of box office.
That's amazing.
Which kind of opened my eyes to then thinking, well, it really opened my eyes to what we're about to do with our feature and DIY theatrical releases that you could do through independent cinemas around London, up and down the country, because lovely guy Jack at Art House, he was very, very obliging and loved the film, really helpful, and I'm sure there's other people like him out there who could kind of take on a film, give it, essentially it was a night-by-night basis. They give you a night, if you sell well, they give you another night, and it just runs on like that. And it's just a way to kind of get a bit of revenue back on, make a bit of your budget back.
And so how many screenings have you had so far?
So that we had 3. So I was away in Berlin as well, actually, recently. So I was away for the third one, so I've no idea how that went. But the first 2 were great, and they were sold out. Yeah. Because Ben's like a local...
he's a kind of a local of
a sort.
He's a folk hero.
He's a folk hero, yeah. So the first 2 screenings were completely sold out, which was fantastic. I've no idea how the third one did because I wasn't around. I've been trying to promote the first 2 on social media and stuff, and I wasn't really around for the third one, so I don't really know how it went down. But it's been amazing. And now we're sending it to festivals, and hopefully it's going to get a good run this next year. Yeah.
I think there's something, I mean, talking about the DIY thing, because I think we both had this experience with narrative filming, fiction film working, in that it's great that you can have a lot of ideas, that you can write them, you can sit and you can script, you can have conversations, me and you can do brainstorming development about... But unfortunately, there are so few funding bodies out there that kind of give you the chance to make that thing. So you've either got to be extremely independently wealthy, stumble across a sugar daddy or mummy, or you're best friends with the BFI, and that's kind of it, right? So the thing about you doing this, and also in a way documentary making, is that you can just sort of go and do it.
Yeah, and it was kind of a nice experience. I'd never delivered a DCP file to a cinema before, and had all that experience.
So for people who don't know what that is,
yes, essentially it's a series of files actually that work within the programming system or that cinemas run their films on. So essentially files that will drop in audio and and picture files that are very high quality, cinema quality, that work with their projection systems, but then also work within their kind of programming systems, their kind of screening programming systems.
And I mean, it was probably only about 3-4 years ago that anybody could even figure out how to make one of these. And now, how did you do it? I mean,
well, you can do it through Premiere now, which is incredible. I mean, I need to get one, but I didn't have a DCP player, so I could make the file but not play it back.
Right.
So it was quite exciting and terrifying to go and watch
Is
it on
it
the
gonna
first
work?
screening, and I hadn't actually seen it on the big screen yet. I was like, well, I'd made a little file and I sent it off, and fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed it works. But it looked great, and I mean,
I was really pleased.
It was a really nice combination of a sort of something that was local and a cinema that's very supportive of local work, and but at the same time something that I think will appeal to a lot of people. So because I think he's got this as an artist, he's got this kind of, as we say, he's a local folk hero, but he's now got some kind of international following. And there's a lovely moment in the film where there's a bunch of sort of Spanish students who know about him.
Big group of Argentinian school kids who came over, and they all kind of knew him, and they're all cheering, and it was a very lovely moment. And Ben loved it, the fact that I captured that, because he sees it from inside, so he was very shocked to see it from quite a subjective point of view, objective point of view, and it was like he was quite taken back by it, because it just did look wonderful. All these kids, it was like a little Beatlemania moment. They were cheering,
it was
and
gorgeous. Yeah, and I mean, he'd made them a little painting of his own. And that's like the most wonderful thing that will happen to them during their immortalised during their trip, and a lovely moment in your film as well.
You are listening to DIY Cinema Cult.
And so what about routine? Where do we think we are? We did have a chat a little bit before I had my little tiny 4mm baby. We had a chat about kind of how challenging it was to make a feature film, and maybe there are ways that we can build up. Maybe we can start to create something in the world of that movie that we can get going with, and maybe that's a few different formats. We were talking a little bit about web series and stuff.
In the chats we had after the last podcast, we were kind of talking about web series, weren't we? Something that feels like it's within the world that could act as some kind of proof or kind of insurance in an idea, a kind of a proof of concept, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, and we were talking about maybe it introduces some of the characters that are in the film. And that maybe it literally occupies the same space, as in it could be backstage at the same comedy night, and we thought of it as a way to both generate an audience, potential audience for the feature coming up, and obviously that social media, and potentially as a web series it could be something on YouTube or the like that has an episodic nature. And that episodic nature is something that obviously feeds well into kind of lo-fi productions.
Absolutely.
We can shoot when we've got a great idea and we've got great contributors, but also maybe start to build up our potential cast.
I mean, I kind of went back to all the kind of stand-up people I knew and just kind of shouted them out, and they were really, really keen on doing things like a web series or just shooting anything really.
So we kind of had that idea, and we had a few other ideas. You were talking about this pirate thing, which I think feeds into the DIY.
Yes, I remember I was talking a while ago about I read a brilliant book called Be More Pirate by Sam Conniff Allende. I hope that's his name pronounced.
He's definitely got that right.
I've definitely nailed
Sam Conniff Allende. If you're
listening,
listening, please do send us an email and correct, and then and also comment on whatever Mark's about to say about your art.
Yes, please do. I absolutely loved his book, and it was basically an approach to. It could be anything, a business venture, a creative venture, but it was the idea that he took the the kind of starting point of the pirate code and the pirate mentality in as a way to kind of create an attitude and a kind of inspiring nature for any kind of business startup.
Yep.
And I was kind of reading it as well, a film crew, a film project.
Yep.
And so it was a fantastic book. And he was very much about building your own manifesto, as pirates did. What I loved about the book was quite historically as well. Pirates are fascinating characters because, you know, back in the days when pirates were kind of ruling the seas, countries like, you know, great cities like London, there was no organised police force, and there was a sense of quite lawlessness and craziness going on the streets.
Yeah.
And on a pirate ship, that kind of lawlessness was just condensed even further. So what they had to do in order to control these kind of bunch of 100 or 150 men on a tiny ship in the middle of the ocean was they had to stick and abide by quite strict rules and codes in order to get A to B and to make the money they needed to make and to get what they wanted out of it. And so even though the boats were often full of runaways, criminals, and people running from various dodgy situations, they all had to abide by these rules. And it was a very strict kind of set of rules and a manifesto that they all stuck to. And he was just kind of applying this nature of manifesto to business ventures. And I kind of found it fascinating.
I think something, I mean, I really love the idea of a sort of pirate venture, and I think it strangely ties into the documentary that I'm doing, and meeting these people who are quite inspiringly DIY. And in fact, one of the sound systems is even called DIY, a very famous sort of Nottingham sound system. And Spiral Tribe, the other one, and Bedlam, they all had a pirate mentality. Obviously, pirate radio was part of that, but also was just this idea of like, don't wait for anybody to give you the license to go and do something. Just go and do it, and make it safe. Don't do anything that's dangerous, and well, don't know about completely about dangerous, but but don't do anything that is harmful to other people, and try to leave no damaging trace. But at the same time, just get up and do it. And I think it's in this sort of era where, in a way, particularly with sort of any creative ventures, you've got all of these platforms in a way in the middle, which can be both helpful, as in, yes, you can get your stuff out there on YouTube and Vimeo, but at the same time, there is still an enormous issue with sort of distribution of creative work and all of that. And, you know, the only things people ever notice is the stuff that gets pushed right to the forefront. So the only reason we're really seeing anything popping up on the YouTube algorithms is studied us, and it also has commercial impulses behind it. So there's, you know, but sort of going back to the pirate thing for this film, I think that just having that attitude of nobody is going to really do it for you, and we can't expect the BFI to kind of drop a million quid for us. We've got to just start making things.
And another thing my old mucker Sam Conifer-Lande mentions in his book is that the idea that these pirates used to build up images around themselves and stories around themselves that would carry forward and almost get their work done for them. People would buy into these images, and often the image that we buy into of a pirate is kind of quite a crazy guy, very violent, you know, swashbuckling, he's got his sword out and he's kind of chopping here and chopping there. But actually pirates weren't very violent, but they kind of operated under a kind of image of fear and intimidation. But they weren't actually. It was against their rules to beat. It was actually against their ethos and against their business plan. They need to be fully fit and fully operational to get their work done. And so, going into battle or having any kind of altercation violently of any kind was against their kind of system that they had in place. So they operated on image, story, legend. And he was all about it within business, within a creative or business venture, create a kind of story around yourself that people can buy into and feel like they're kind of interested in.
Well, I think, you know, a part of that might well be in terms of sort of generating a world around a movie, and I think this is something that people could probably all gain from. Is I mean, it's a hackneyed idea to a certain extent, but kind of creating or generating a brand, it's a sort of dirty word to a certain extent, but it's something that's obviously extremely necessary. And having a kind of potent visual side to that people can immediately go, that's what they are, that's what they're all about. It seems to me to be kind of really important. So we're at some point going to kind of have to get our visual side of things together properly, as in the social media side, whether there's a website set up,
I think so.
for potential funders and what have you.
It's interesting what you said about waiting for funding and waiting for permission as well, because I mean, I've been doing that a lot in the past, and kind of just sending off submissions and you know, and pitch documents to this and that, and you get a no, and then that's kind of the end of it. You're kind of crestfallen, and you kind of almost
think,
stop
I'm
trying.
shit.
Yeah, and I remember the chewing gum man. I remember applying for funding, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, to some kind of funding body or what have you, and I hadn't even made contact with Ben, the artist, yet, but I just thought this would be a good idea for a documentary.
This is a cool idea.
And I was, you know, now I can see I was doing the whole thing backwards.
Yep.
I was kind of trying to get the money first, then I'd go to Ben with the money, and he'd be impressed, and then he'd want to make the documentary. And actually knowing him, he wouldn't have been impressed, he would have been scared by that. And so the fact that I ended up just chatting him up on the street and becoming friends with him, and I made it with no money, was completely the right way to do it, and it's just proved that fact.
Well, likewise, the people that, you know, are involved in this rave documentary are, you know, for very good reason, suspicious of mainstream media. They've had experiences in the past where people have effectively tried to make them look either lawless or foolish or whatever it is, or, you know, a bad influence, and so I obviously came from the perspective of somebody who is very much trying to tell a sort of people's story. And they did certainly take to the idea of the fact that I just got up and done this. And I literally spent my own money to go to Berlin to go and meet them.
So then they trust you, then it's a trust thing.
And I think there's just something, what I think more and more is something just powerful about just starting something, even though you really haven't got the security that you would normally have had in the traditional media of, you know, yes, there's a commissioner or there's somebody who's giving you the money. Just get going. And on that route, you will find the next way to get to the next stage. Not
waiting for permission then needs to go on our manifesto.
So that's it. That's definitely like in our top 5.
You are listening to the debut feature film podcast. This is DIY Cinema Cult.
We've talked a little bit about the pirate thing, which I think is a really cool idea, and we talked a little bit about the idea maybe of sort of generating an audience and generating potential kind of collaborators on a project. But what do you think we need to do next for Routine? What's our next plan?
My next step is I want to go back in and just do not a rewrite, just a new draft. I just feel that I haven't reread the last one for quite a while yet. I'm kind of putting it off because I want to actually do a bit more, just working out in my head. I feel like the end is exactly right and where it needs to be. I just feel currently there's a bit of rewiring that needs to be done in the middle, because I feel like currently the end is right.
The tricky middle.
The end is right, but I feel like I'm pushing the character towards the end. Whereas what I want to happen is I want to feel like the character's just being driven emotionally towards the end. I feel like I'm shoehorning it a bit, so I just need a bit of rewriting in the beginning and middle just to make sure that end is fully impactful. So I'm kind of going to do a bit of note taking and writing, and then I'm going to do a reread of what we've got, and then a rewrite in the next couple of weeks, and just get that script quite tight in the next draft. So we've got something quite solid.
And what about sort of coming up with, I suppose, some sort of idea around casting?
I mean,
we had a thought the other day, didn't we?
Yes.
Somebody popped into the newspaper, and we thought, wow, this is Don.
Oh yeah, it did. We probably should mention, should we? But it was someone in the news.
A well-known
TV
comedian who was
on the rocks a bit,
who was quite severely on the rocks, and
I thought, wow, he'd be fantastic.
He kind of is almost already Don, but in a way
maybe too much Don. Maybe he is someone who's completely Don wouldn't be able to maybe perform Don. I don't know. Do you know?
No.
What I mean?
Now, obviously, Don as a character is he's down on his luck, but he's not necessarily like a kind of drug addict, boozy kind of person.
No, he's not. He's had a couple of drinks, but he's not necessarily gone down that road. But one thing I would like to talk about, someone who maybe, well, pretty much will be in our film, is our mutual friend Luca.
Oh
who, I sent you that ad.
Amazing.
So we've got a friend called Luca who we've made quite a few shorts with. And he's
basically Mark always writes a part that's perfect for Luca into literally everything he does.
He's a lovely man. He's a lovely actor, but he has landed this part he's been in lots of brilliant things. He's been in Peaky Blinders, and he was in Rush, Ron Howard movie, and a couple of other things besides. But he's literally just landed a part in the new Warburton's bagel advert,
which sounds shitter than it actually is.
It sounds shit until you hear that he's actually doing scenes with Robert De Niro.
And this is not like he's all been put in CGI afterwards. It's basically like a 2-minute kind of gangster movie in pure, all the kind of gangster tropes.
It's a kind of remake of Goodfellas, but
Goodfellas with bagels. Yeah. And it's a barrel of laughs, and Luca is classic Luca.
Yeah. And it's every actor's dream, right? It just happened to Luca.
It's pretty fantastic.
So I thought he'd be actually a good guest to have on the podcast. We could have him in, because he could talk about Peakies and stuff like that, and what it's like on some of the sets he's been on. And
well, let's maybe get Luca down for episode 3 then.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And we got a couple of other ideas of sort of people down the line that might be interesting to talk to, sort of DOPs and people that, again, some people listening to this might not really know the difference, or what it takes to become a kind of a DOP or an editor. So we might try and get some guests along, people who are kind of just can talk about general industry stuff in an interesting way, and show what kind of a journey they've gone through to get where they are now.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Oh, is it time for you? You look like you've got a bit of a dry glass there. I'm still nursing this because I'm being healthy. All right, because I've had a.
You don't want another kidney stone, mate.
Well, yeah, and apparently the main reason for kidney stone is dehydration, of which alcohol isn't necessarily the cause.
Yeah.
But what I did discover was that. You should, and this is true of everybody, drink 3 litres of liquid a day. And I'm not talking gin. I'm talking basically water. 3 litres. Do you drink 3 litres of water a day?
I've started to no, I haven't until very recently. And
until you heard about me.
And Debbie bought me, and I sort of heard about you having to piss out pebbles, and I thought, no thanks. I'm on the water.
Trust me, nobody ever wants to go through it. The usual.
Does it have to come out your chap?
Yeah, there's nowhere.
Jesus
Christ. You either get it out like that, or
Tweezers?
they have to go and get it. And the way they go and get it is with a implement you don't.
They blow in your ear and it fires out your cock.
Well, one amazing story that somebody did tell me. Obviously, basically it's got to pass through your ureter. Didn't even know I had one before, and then your urethra. And now, obviously, I've always known about that, and it's quite a delicate part of the world when it comes to pain thresholds.
Oh my God!
But one amazing story somebody did tell me was that, basically, you've got to drink loads of water. That's the only way to get it out. If not, they have to operate. You can die if your kidney kind of gets blocked, etc. Bad news. But one funny story was that there is apparently a specific roller coaster ride at Disneyland that is famous for people getting on with kidney stones and them spontaneously leaving their system at a certain zero gravity level.
Oh my God.
And so if I was getting really desperate, and I will find out tomorrow for sure, it's Disneyland. Yeah, if it's either Disneyland or it's a very invasive piece of nasty surgery. But I thought that would be quite a fun way to pop a little kidney stone out.
Yeah.
So Mark, I think you've poured yourself a drink. That's nice.
Yeah, sorry.
And it might be time for you to pour me one.
There you go.
We have got olives. We've got Chris.
You set up a lovely bar in the shed, haven't you? It's very...
Yeah. So has the shed changed much from the last time you were here?
It looks the same, I think.
Basically, half the shed is a production office with my edit suite and all my camera kit. The other is the remnants of the inside of our house, and it's got a lot of baby stuff. And I'm just going to give it all to you, Mark.
Yeah. Well,
now you've got a new one on the way.
With lovely Debbie.
Yeah.
Who will be our makeup artist, I suppose, won't she? On our film.
We got one member of our crew already sorted. Perfect.
We should get Debbie on because she would have some funny stories about. Or maybe she's not allowed to tell her stories.
Again, it would be that thing of like, insert very famous pop star name here who's got 25 million Instagram followers.
Yeah,
and his
Debbie's
nasty toilet habits.
Yes, exactly. So Debbie was like a makeup artist and did lots of pop stars and stuff, but she did have to sign lots of various
NDAs,
non-disclosure things.
Yeah,
went on tour with people. So, but maybe she could give some kind of edited. Yeah, we could do a bleeped version or something.
Bleeped version. Well, when you're around Debbie, you have to bleep everything out anyway.
You are listening to DIY Cinema Cult.
I think we should just say cheers.
Cheers.
Oh God, that's a proper gin one.
Sorry, mate, I made it quite strong.
That's all right. That's good.
Well, here's to the next stage. So by next time we kind of come back, what will we have? We'll have a new script, I reckon.
A new script, and hopefully, maybe we have started to think about, or we've got together some short form kind of development, whether that is working with a comedian or a couple of comedians to come up with a sketch or a kind of web series or something that will kind of start to build the world. So I think what we didn't really talk about was, as well as sort of building the world, building the audience and building potential collaborators, was that a lot of the time you're kind of on your own. And if you sort of create a network, is that if you get a sense of like we're all in this together, and that the people are kind of on the journey with you, making the film, but also they want you to succeed because you've kind of generated sort of cool things already. So hopefully we'll have got a plan in gear for that first step in that direction, and maybe we'll have sorted the website out as well.
And also we were saying in terms of production techniques, ways of approaching scenes, characters. If we wanted to try, the web series would be a great way for us to try out little techniques, little tricks that we might kind of utilize in the film, the final feature film. We go, right, this episode is all done in one shot. This episode is all done from such and such perspective, or it's done with it's handheld, or this one's very smooth, or this one's very this and that. So it might be just a nice way just to play, have a bit of a playground.
Experiment, absolutely.
And we shoot, and they can only be a couple of minutes long each or something. They don't need to be too long. So
we have had a couple of discussions about sort of ways to shoot some of the scenes, and we kind of thought there was something a little bit kind of in the Goodfellas kind of, or Scorsese-ish start to the movie, and whether the start could have that kind of introduction to the world, whether it was shot as a one take or whether it was a sense of like you're Don and you're moving into this kind of comedy world.
It feels like it, because the way the script goes, it is Don literally starts out in his car.
He's out in his car
and he walks into the venue, so it feels like it is that we are following him into this, and he's the one taking us into that world, this little world, the comedy, live comedy kind of venue.
And it sort of feels like that bit in Boogie Nights as well, where you go into the club. And
I was watching recently, there's a great video of all Paul Thomas Anderson's kind of intro shots, and a lot of them are this kind of beautiful long follow shot that just brings you into the world, and you kind of meet all the characters within one scene that lasts for 2 minutes
and
or 3 minutes.
As a film that's sort of driven kind of very much, it's all in one location. I think something like that to kind of introduce the film. But we're going to do it on an extreme budget, of course.
Very tight budget.
So it's GoPro stuck on someone's head. And
on my head. I'll be Don.
But I think what bearing in mind the Netflix short attention span experience of people kind of flick. There is something to be said, and this is in a way a bit of a kind of observation I think we've had, of starting your movie with a wow, and then introducing those characters that hook people in, and then they're brought into it. So there's definitely something in that, in the way we start the film, to really draw people in, to and not just as a gimmick at all, but just as a way to really get a sense of kind of, here we are, this is the characters, this is the world, and now you're in, you're absorbed by it. So
and of course, what's happening, it's a live venue, an event's about to take place, it's going to start any minute now. So there is that kind of ticking kind of excitement to it. So that kind of introduction to the film would be perfect. You'd be drawn into it. Don would literally be dragging us into the, through the front door up to the stage. Yeah, I think it would work really, really well. I was thinking, I forgot to mention before when we were talking about the DIY theatrical release. You could have it's not even a release. It could be more like a tour of independent cinemas, and it could last for however long you wanted. It's up to you. I mean, it could be like a festival run. It could last for a year. You just go around all the independent cinemas. And the other night I was sitting and watching TV, and this film came on, and it was called Papalopoulos and Sons. Have you heard about this? It's a British movie. I don't know when it was made, maybe 5 or 6 years old. Made by these two brothers. I think they're called, the writer and director I think is Mark who, and his brothers Andrew. These two sound like Greek brothers. Right. And it was a really, really nice movie. And for some reason, I hadn't seen it before, heard of it before, and I just Googled it while I was watching it. And what they did was they made it, the film was made for about 800,000. What was interesting to me, on their Wikipedia, it talked about they had a special deal with Cineworld or View, or a big kind of chain. So it wasn't like an independent just cinema or distributor. It was like it was kind of a chain cinema. And there was this one particular outlet where they got it in on the screen. They gave it one night. It sold so well, it ended up running for nights and nights and nights.
Wow.
So it just makes you think that even at places like View or Cineworld or Picture House, there's a way in. If you've got a film that kind of interests people, or you can build up enough buzz online,
so you've got an audience already,
or community that we're already talking about, building up some kind of community that kind of follow your film from production to screening. Then there's no reason why you can't get it into even a big a cinema or chain, and have them kind of go, well, here's one. You can have Tuesday night, see how you go with Tuesday night, and if you do well, then you can have a Thursday. And so it kind of got my mind ticking about this film. At tail end, how we deal with getting it seen.
And I think it's very promising, because the biggest challenge mainly for cinema releases, actually for any film, is to get its cinema release beyond its sort of mandatory 2 weeks, which is often a kind of trick by sales agents to mean that it kind of ups the price for something when Sky put it on box art. Do you know what I mean? Generally it's a kind of a scam thing to get something that has to have it's 2 week thing. But this is a more genuine, audience driven, and I think this is more and more, you think, well, I wasn't interested in the film industry because it's an industry or a business. I'm interested in making films that talk to people and communicate to people.
Absolutely.
And so finding your audience is the hardest bit. And maybe there's these new ways that it doesn't just have to be an audience that's on a screen at home, or even on a phone or a streaming service, but that it's an audience that will go and see it. And we all know the value of going to the cinema and the experience of going to cinema. Festivals provide one side of that, and we love going to festivals. And I was at the London Short Film Festival, which was quite interesting at the sort of start of the year, and there was a real buzz feeling about that. But they also have their limitations. But to get to a wider audience, because festivals appeal to filmmakers generally, or people who are interested in movies, but they don't necessarily appeal to a wider audience. And for films like ours, both your documentary, my documentary, and also Routine, there's a clear audience who will tap into it, and that's who we want to talk to.
Yeah, it's just getting an audience interested from now, from before we've even started
Yeah.
to kind of go into production, just so that they're with us and they build the whole way, so that by the time we come to screen it,
Yeah.
you know, it's not a standing start. You know, we've got people who are kind of interested, who kind of want to see what we've come up with.
Yeah.
And I was going to, sorry, I was
Yeah, go for
trying
it.
to interrupt you, but I was going to say that before I had this experience with the independent cinema with my documentary, and before I saw the Papadopoulos and Sons film and heard about what they had, their distribution kind of experience, I was really kind of thinking, wow, maybe we will get a distributor.
Yeah.
You know, they might stick it on, you know, but hey, we'll probably only get like 2 days of a week.
Yeah.
But at least we'll be have a UK release. And I was thinking, you know, that would be amazing. But no, it's awful. You're just basically, they're just fobbing you off. And the fact that you've got distribution might sound fantastic, but it's not going to do, you're not going to make you any money.
No.
We're not going to make any budget back on having a distribution that's going to last, that is that poor. But if we took our distribution into our own hands,
Yeah.
we would have far more chance to kind of make our budget back, make money back at the tail end.
Let's do it pirate style.
Pirate style.
A friend of ours who was actually one of the people who commissioned our first short film. Do you remember Dave Waterson?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
Well, he produced. So Dave Waterson, for our listeners, it was the person who was working at the Haringey Film Office.
Yeah.
Who
basically gave us our funds.
Gave
to do
us
our
our modest short film budget. Mark's first with We Are What We Drink, and then mine with Mr. Talkie's Holiday. But he produced a really interesting documentary with a very specific audience, and it was about graphic design, and it was particularly about the kind of boutique graphic design of a certain kind of era. And of course, graphic designers are going to go and watch the movie, and then you could potentially screen that at universities, and you could screen that at art centres. And so they did a very big festival run, and then they did these tailored screenings literally all over the country, and they would do Q&As because that would be part of the package of doing it. They shot they made a master. They weren't just sending out duplicates. They would turn it into an event. And I thought it was very interesting for building an audience, because every time you turn up at a screening and you talk to about, the 50, 100 people that are there, you've got another group of people that can then be collaborators or people who are interested in your work moving forwards.
Well, it just goes to show that when people who are behind the distribution really love and care for the film, then you are going to see the benefits of that.
In a way, I think I'm hoping that in a way, the way we can do this film and that our other projects moving forward is that we don't do it by the book. We do it a little bit pirate. We do it a little bit DIY. We do it a little bit outlaw. And hopefully as a result, we really meet the people who are interested in the films. Yeah. And we talk to those people properly. And we also get what I've always felt about making a film is that there's a kind of a passive audience experience. We both I was in bands and what have you, and they get this great thing straight away. You make this piece of music, play it, and then there's somebody in front of you who's going yay, or they're going bollocks. Generally it was the former with me, but there was definitely a few times where it was the latter. But you got an instant connection with your audience, whereas with films you don't really get that, and especially if you do commission things and what have you, a lot of the time it goes online, you get a few likes, people share it a bit, and that's it. And you think, oh God,
true.
That's killed me. It's
so true.
Whereas this experience is more akin to a bit of artistic expression. You're in front of people.
I remember when I made We Are What We Drink, which was a quite short comedy.
Yeah.
And I remember it was probably the first comedy I made, and I fell in love with comedy ever since. But the first experience was terrifying because it's not like a drama where people can sit very silently and solemnly and rub their chin and you know, with comedy, it's only a success if they make a noise out their mouth, ha ha ha, and then you know you've.
Or.
And it was terrifying because it is a very long process, and you're kind of doing it on your own, and you're editing, and you're shooting, and then you're editing, and then you're screening it. So when you get to the screening, it's like telling a very, very long, you know, joke.
Yeah.
And it's not until the screening night that
A
you
bit
actually
like this
get the laugh.
podcast.
A bit like this podcast. It's a bit drawn out.
We'll get to the punchline.
And you know, and luckily I did get laughs. Not all the time, but generally we got laughs. But there were sometimes it didn't get laughs, and it was like, oh my god, it's just it was terrifying.
Yeah.
Depending on the audience, there was this bit in the film where Ken Collard, who's in the movie, he kind of does this bit of business at the door when he's kind of coming into the coffee shop, and there's another actor, Alex Devrian, he's kind of coming in, very tall guy, and they kind of do this little comical thing where they kind of have a bit of a weird, awkward moment at the door. And if people laughed at that bit, I knew
you were in.
I was in. But when they didn't, I was like, oh
shit, tough crowd.
Tough crowd.
Well, this is your place, putting all of that into Don's experience now in the movie and for the film as a whole.
We'll get there, mate.
You already need a top up. That's quite impressive. We're on. Are we actually on to drink number 3?
I'm
going to see the doctor tomorrow.
I don't want you pissing out any more olive stones.
No, I just don't want to make any more. I don't mind getting them out. I just don't want to make any more. So we're probably going to wrap it up now.
Let's wrap this shit up.
Let's wrap it. So
fuck this. And I reckon once we've got the new script, then we can start showing it to people. I really want to get some actors involved.
Yeah.
Even if it's not necessarily the actors who are going to be in the roles, it'd be good to start doing some script read-throughs, just hearing it out loud. Yeah.
And actually, I'm about to shoot a pilot, not of my own. I'm first ADing on a pilot. So first AD is generally the bossy bastard on set, and another collaborating friend of ours, Harry, who maybe would be a good person to be the production designer or art director for this film. He's making a pilot, and I went along to the rehearsal the other day, and it's a comedy as well, and it was just very kind of interesting to hear a script come to life from the things that you've read, and you had those voices in your head as to what they were like, and then suddenly there's 7 real people speaking those lines, injecting all sorts of new things into it, and then not getting other bits. And you're thinking, wow, this is great, because I'll take all the stuff they've injected into it, and you can then kind of ask them to inject back into the bits they've missed. So it'd be great to get some kind of get some actors reading your lines,
just
and
breathe
a
bit of life into it, really, and just get it moving.
So maybe that's one of the things that I can do as producer, is that maybe we could organise a script read. All right, mate. Well, until next time. Bye, listeners. Sleep tight. And cheers. Cheers. To Louis.
Follow us on Twitter at DIY Cinema Cult, or on Instagram we are DIY_cinema_cult. Seek out the DIY Cinema Cult group on Facebook, or why not email us at DIYCinemaCult@gmail.com.